You know how it is. Your friends have them, your coworkers have them. Scroll through your social media feed and it's basically a digital tattoo parlor. I mean, ink is everywhere. It's gotten to the point where having totally blank skin can make you feel like the odd one out, right? So let's get into it.
And look, if you want to put a number on it, get this. Over 46% of millennials have at least one tattoo. That's nearly half a generation. It's this huge cultural shift. But here's the thing. While everyone's busy analyzing why people get tattoos, almost nobody is talking about the psychology of the majority who don't.
And that's exactly what we're going to explore right now. Because, the choice to stay ink-free, it's not just a simple preference. It often reveals some incredibly profound things about how a person sees themselves, their future, even their place in the world.
Yeah, we're kind of calling this whole thing the ink-free anomaly. Because let's be honest, in a lot of social circles, that's exactly what it feels like. And the reasons for it, they go so much deeper than just, being afraid of needles or waiting for that one perfect design.
Okay, so the first word that comes to mind for most people is permanence, right? And yeah, that's definitely part of the story, but it's not the whole book. The decision to stay ink-free, it's not just about a mark on your skin. It's actually about your fundamental relationship with time itself. And this brings us to what I like to call the permanence paradox. It's all about this deal we're either willing or, unwilling to make with our future self.
I mean, think about it. We live in a world where people will sign a 30-year mortgage and they barely even blink. That's a massive, life-altering financial commitment that stretches out for decades.
And yet, for some of those very same people, the idea of a small, permanent tattoo feels like this impossibly huge commitment. So why? Why does a little drawing on your ankle feel more binding than a house? The psychology here is absolutely incredible.
Well, the answer lies in a psychological concept called future self-continuity. Basically, it's how connected you feel to the person you're going to be in 10, 20, or 30 years. Now, if you have low continuity, your future self can feel like a total stranger. And for a lot of people, getting a tattoo feels like permanently marking up a stranger's body. I mean, why would you do that?
And this ties directly into another trait, having what's called a fluid identity orientation. This is the core belief that your identity is just, a constant work in progress. So for someone with this view, getting a tattoo, this definitive, permanent statement, it feels like trying to write the final chapter of a book that you're still in the middle of writing.
But, this trait has two sides to it. On the one hand, it's a really healthy openness to growth. But on the other hand, it can kind of become a fear of commitment. Psychologists sometimes call this identity foreclosure, which is basically just settling on who you are way too early. And that line between being open-minded and just being avoidant, it can be super thin. Okay, so that's all the internal psychology. Now let's shift gears and look at the external pressures, the sort of unseen social contract that a lot of people are constantly trying to navigate. You see, a lot of people who choose to be tattoo-free are subconsciously running this constant cost-benefit analysis. They're asking themselves, will this affect my career? What will my family think? How are total strangers going to perceive me? It's this quiet, internal calculation of social risk. The formal term for this is actually impression management. It's that strategic process of controlling how other people see you. And for someone who really prioritizes this, a tattoo is a permanent variable they just can't control. So choosing to remain a blank canvas isn't an absence of choice at all. It's a very strategic move to maintain full command of their image. And just like we talked about with fluid identity, there's a spectrum here too. Is this a strategic, thoughtful way of presenting yourself? Or is it more of an anxiety-driven fear of judgment that's actually limiting your authentic self-expression? Really, the motivation behind the action is what truly matters. But what if the reason isn't about fear of the future or even concern about the present? What if it's something else entirely? This brings us to our final and maybe most powerful idea, the choice to be ink-free as a form of quiet rebellion. Think about it this way. We live in a world that's constantly shouting at you to make your mark and express yourself externally. So, what if the most radical act is to consciously choose not to? What if that blank canvas isn't an empty space at all, but an intentional statement of minimalism? This mindset is often tied to what's known as an intrinsic identity orientation. It's the belief that your identity, your memories, your values, all of that stuff exists internally. It doesn't need an external symbol to be real or to be valid. The meaning is carried inside you. It's not worn on your skin.
It really comes down to this.
In a world that's constantly screaming, express yourself, stand out, make a statement, choosing not to participate is its own form of rebellion.
And here's the crucial point. The absence of external symbols doesn't equal the absence of internal meaning. I mean, you don't forget your mother's face just because you don't have her portrait tattooed on your arm, right? For people with this orientation, memories and meanings are processed and held internally, and that makes them absolutely no less profound.
So, okay, after exploring all these different psychological layers, from our future selves to social contracts to this idea of quiet rebellion, what's the real takeaway here? What's the crucial point? Ultimately, this isn't about tattooed versus non-tattooed. It's not a debate about which is better. The psychology of someone who never gets a tattoo is every bit as complex, as valid, and as fascinating as the person who does. The really revealing thing isn't the outcome, it's whether the choice was made consciously and authentically, for yourself.
Because in the end, whether your skin is a colorful canvas or a completely blank one, both are just different answers to this same fundamental question. A question we all have to ask ourselves: who am I, and how do I want to show up in this world?